It's blue, yellow, blue and 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 yellow. It's so nice. And there's a pig. It's a Minecraft pig. So cute. I can't forget this. I forgot the name of the dog, but he's so cute too. Okay. This story tells how Vanya and Marusa drove to the village to see a new baby. Old Peter had a sister who lived in the village, not so very far away from the forest, and she had a plump daughter, and the daughter was called Nastasia, and she was married to a handsome peasant called Sergei, who had 3 cows, a lot of pigs, and a flock of fat geese. And one day when old Peter had gone to the village to buy tobacco and sugar and sunflower seeds, he came back in the evening and said to the children, "There's something new in the village." "What sort of something?" asked Vanya. "Alive," said old Peter. "Is there a lot of it?" asked Vanya. "No, only one." "Then it can't be pigs," said Vanya, in a melancholy voice. "I thought it was pigs." "Perhaps it is a little calf," said Marusa. "I know what it is," said Vanya. "Well, it's a foal. It's brown all over with white and on its nose, and a lot of white hairs in its tail." "No." "What is it then, grandfather?" "I tell you, little pigeons, it's small and red, and it's got a bumpy head with hair on it like the fluff of a duckling. It has blue eyes, and 10 fingers to its 4 paws, and 10 toes to its hind feet, 5 to each." "It's a baby," said Marusa. "Yes, Nastasia has got a little son. Aunt Sophia has got a grandson. You have got a new cousin, and I've got a new great nephew. Great nephew. Think of that. Already it's a son, and a cousin, and a grandson, and a great nephew. And he's only been alive 12 hours. He lost no time in taking a position for himself. He'll be a great man one of these days if he goes on as fast as that." The children had jumped up as soon as they knew it was a baby. "When is the christening?" "The day after tomorrow." "Oh, grandfather." "Well, who is going to the christening?" "The baby, of course." "Yes, but other people?" "All the village." "And us?" "I have to go, and I suppose there'll be room in the cart for 2 little bear cubs like you." And so it was settled that Vanya and Marusa were to go to the christening of their new cousin, who was only 12 hours old. All the next day they could think of nothing else, and early on the morning of the christening they were up and about. Marusa, seeing that Vanya had on a clean shirt and herself putting on a green ribbon in her hair. The sun shone, and the leaves on the trees were all new and bright, and the sky was pale blue through the flickering green leaves. Old Peter was up early too, harnessing the little yellow horse into the old cart. The cart was of rough wood, without springs, like a big buff as the cart moved over the forest track. The shafts came from the front wheels upwards to the horses' shoulders, and between the ends of them there was a tall, strong hoop of wood called a doga, which rose high over the shoulders of the horse above his collar and had two little bells hanging from it at the top. The wooden hoop was painted green with little red flowers. The harness was mostly of ropes, but that did not matter so long as it held together. The horse had a long tail and mane, and looked as untidy as a little boy, but he had a green ribbon in his forelock in honor of the christening, and he could go like anything and never got tired. When all was ready, old Peter arranged a lot of salt, fresh hay in a cart for the children to sit in. Hay is the best thing in the world to sit in when you're driving in a jolting Russian cart. Old Peter put in a tremendous lot, so that the horse could eat some of it while waiting in the village, and yet leave them enough to make them comfortable on the journey back. Finally, old Peter took a gun that he had spent all the evening before in cleaning, and laid it carefully in the hay. "What is it the gun for?" asked Vanya. "I am to be a godparent," said old Peter, "and I want to give him a present. I could not give him a better present than a gun, for he shall be a forester and a good shot, and you cannot begin too early." Presently, Vanya and Marusa were tucked into the hay, and old Peter climbed in with the bladed reins, and away they went along the narrow forest track, where the wheels followed the ruts and splashed through the deep holes, for the spring was young and the roads had not yet dried. Some of the deep holes had a few pine branches laid in them, but that was the only road mending that ever was done. Overhead were the tall firs and silver birches with their little pale round leaves, and somewhere not far away, and a cuckoo was calling, while the murmur of the wild pigeons never stopped for a moment. They drove on and on through the forest, and at last came out from among the trees into the open country, a broad, flat plain stretching to the river. Far away they could see the big square sail of a boat, swayed out in the light wind, and they knew that there was the river, on the banks of which stood the village. They could see a small clump of trees, and as they came nearer, the pale-green cupolas of the white village church rising above the tops of the birches. Presently they came to a rough wooden bridge and crossed over a little stream that was on its way to join the big river. Vanya looked at it. "Grandfather," he asked, "when the frost went, which was water first, the big river or the little river?" "Why, the little river, of course," said old Peter. "It's always the little streams that wake first in the spring, and running down to the big river make it swell and flood and break up the ice. It's always been so ever since the quarrel between the Vozuza and the Volga." "What was that?" said Vanya. "It was like this," said old Peter. "The Vozuza and the Volga flow for a long way side by side, and then they join and flow together. And the Vozuza is a little river, but the Volga is the mother of all Russia and the greatest river in the world." And the little Vozuza was jealous of the Volga. "You are big and noisy," she says to the Volga, "and terribly strong, but has 4 brains." Says she, "Why, I have more brains in a single ripple than you in all that lump of water." Of course the Volga told her not to be so rude, and said that little rivers should know their place and not argue with the great. But the Vozuza would not keep quiet, and at last she said to the Volga, "Look here, we will lie down and sleep, and we will agree that the one of us who wakes first and comes first to the sea is the wiser of the two." And the Volga said, "Very well, if only you will stop talking." So and slept. White and still, all through the winter, and when the spring came, the little Vosos awoke first, brisk and laughing and hurrying, and rushed away as hard as he could go towards the sea. When the Volga woke, the little Vososa was already far ahead. But the Volga did not hurry. She walked slowly and shook the ice from herself, and then came roaring after Vosos, a huge foaming flood of angry water. And the little Vososa listened as she ran, and she heard the Volga coming after her. And when the Volga caught her up, a tremendous foaming river running along trees and blocks of ice, she was frightened, and she said, "Oh, Volga, let me be your little sister. I will never argue with you anymore. You are wiser than I and stronger than I. Only take me by the hand and bring me with you to the sea." And the Volga forgave the little Vososa and took her by the hand and brought her safely to the sea. And they have never quarreled again, but all the time it is always the little Vososa that gets up first in the spring and tugs at the white blankets of ice and snow and wakes her big sister from her winter sleep. They drove on over the flat open country with no hedges, but only ditches to drain off the floods, and very often not even ditches to divide one field from another, and huge groves with grey hoods and shawls packed about in the grass at the roadside or flew heavily in the sunshine. They passed a little girl with a flock of geese and another little girl lying in the grass holding a long rope which was fastened to the horns of a brown cow. And the little girl lay on her face and slept among the flowers while the cow walked slowly round her, step by step, chewing the grass and thinking about nothing at all. And at last they came to the village, and the road was wider, and instead of one pair of rods there were dozens, and the cart bumped worse than ever. The broad earthy road had no stones in it, and in places where the puddles would have been deeper than the axles of the wheels, it had been mended by laying down for fir logs and small benches in the puddles and putting a few spadefuls of earth on the top of them. The road ran right through the village. On either side of it were little wooden huts. The ends of the timbers crossed outside at the four corners of the huts. They fitted neatly into each other, and some of them were carved, and there were no slates or ties on the roofs, but little thin slabs of wood overlapping each other. There was not a single stone hut or cottage in the village. Only the church was partly brick, whitewashed, with bright green cupolas up in the air, and tingle crosses on the tops of the cupolas shining in the clear sky. Outside the church were rows of short posts with long rough fir timbers made on the top of them, to which the country people tied their horses when they came to church. There were several carts that already with bright colored rugs laying on the hay in them, and the horses were eating hay or biting the logs, always except when the logs are quite new. You can't tell the favorite places for tying up horses to them, because the timbers will have deep holes in them, where they have been gnawed away by the horses' teeth. They bite the timbers, while their masters eat sunflower seeds, not for food, but to pass the time. "Now then," said old Peter, as he got down from the cart, tied the horse, gave him an armful of hay from the cart, and lifted the children out. "Be quick, we shall be late if we don't take care. I believe we are late already. Good health to you, Peter," he said to an old peasant, and as the baby gone in, "Yes, Peter, and my head is not so bad. And how is yours?" "Good also, Peter. Thanks be to God. And will you see to this too? For I am a good parent, and must be near the prize. said old peasant father. How they do grow, to be sure, like young beech trees. Come along then, little pigeons. Old Peter hurried into the church full of the by father. With Vanya and Marusa, they all crossed themselves and said a prayer as they went in. The ceremony was just beginning. The priest in his silk robes was standing before the golden penny screen at the end of the church, and there were the basin of holy water, and old Peter's sister, and the nurse Babka Tanya, very proud, holding the baby in a roll of white linen, and rocking it to and fro. There were colored pictures of saints all over the screen, which is scratches from one side of the church to the other. Some of the pictures were framed in gilt frames under glass, and were partly painted and partly metal. The faces and hands of the saints were painted, and their clothes were clad in silver or gold. Little lamps were burning in front of them, and candles. A Russian questioning is very different from an English one. For one thing, the baby goes right into the water, not once, but 3 times. Babkatanya unrolled the baby, and the priest covered his face with his hand, and down it went under the water, once, twice, and again. Then he took some of the sacred ointment on his finger and anointed the baby's forehead and feet and hands and little round stomach. Then, with a pair of scissors, he cut a little pinch of fluff from the baby's head and rolled it into a pellet with the ointment, and threw the pellet into the holy water. And after that, the baby was carried slowly 3 times round the holy water. The priest blessed it and prayed for it, and there was a little true Russian ready to be carried back to its mother, Nastasia, who lay at home in her cottage waiting for it. This is for now, for today. In next video I'll be reading from here, moving from here. Page 15. Thank you for listening. I hope you like my video. If you like, please leave a comment or leave any recommendations for me for a video. Like if you have any idea for me, please tell me in the comments.